Pentacles, chapter 27, chapter 27, Queen of Pentacles. More than a week passed after that incident, and Ken was no longer in an arm brace, and his shoulders stung every so often. However, it was nothing that 2 pills couldn't fix. And the shoulder was healing beautifully, and at the most he would only have the stitches for a couple of more days. That Friday he found himself alone in his house, and with only his cat for company. And Jack had gone to fool around with his bandmate, and his grandma was visiting her friend Lorraine. And as for Oberon, he was checking out an apartment with his sister, and he had finally found a place that he liked. And he was going to use his father's check to pay the down, and this would lower the monthly payment to something manageable. With nothing better to do, Cain decided to visit his favorite psychic, Irina, in search of guidance. And in the past he had visited her to whine to cry about Eugenia, and this time he wanted a legitimate psychic reading. And he jumped out of the couch with his thought in mind, and he placed his kitten Julian in her carrier, and he got inside his newly painted patrol car, and before heading out, he paused. The last time he spoke to Irina, she had been scouting for a new house, and he texted her to ask her for her new address, and sure enough, the woman had moved. And he was surprised to find out that she now lived a block away from Carina's house. And he drove up to the psychic's house, and he found her sitting outside the porch. And based on her abstracted eyes, she was probably meditating or having a vision. Cain sat down beside her, and he allowed the cat out of the bag. And Judah began to survey her new setting, at least as far as her leash allowed. And Cain extended the range to allow Julia to explore as far as 3 meters. And the kitten naturally gravitated towards a hibiscus tree she decided to climb. Cain, to what do I owe the pleasure? Asked Irina when she became aware of his presence. And what were you thinking about? Asked Cain. Were you having an augury? Yes, I was having a vision about the immortality of the crab, said Irina. I wasn't aware that crabs are immortal, said Cain. It is a Cuban saying. It means that I was thinking about nonsense, said Irina. And did you come to ask me about Oberon? Yes and no, and I need a good luck charm, Irina, and I've been having the worst of luck lately, and I was forced to change jobs, and my coworkers are constantly teasing me, and I got shot at, and Oberon already cheated on me, said Cain. My charms cannot keep others from doing what they want to, said Irina, and I do not have the power to force your coworkers to like you, nor can I stop criminals from shooting at you, but I can make a charm that will give you the common sense to stay out of dangerous situations. Irina went to the garage, and with Cain following behind, and she brought out 2 silver coins, which she melted into a mold. And the mold had the shape of a person, and as it solidified, she carved an effigy of Cain. And while he waited for his charm to finish taking shape, he got a psychic reading. If Oberon is cheating on you, started saying Irina at the end of her reading. I don't know that he is. I simply suspect, and he hasn't slept with me in over a week, and Oberon can't go a day without mating, and if he isn't getting any from me, he must be getting it from someone else, mused Cain. There's one way to confirm your suspicion, said Irina, or you can shelve your petty jealousy and actually enjoy the experience of having somebody who tolerates your presence. Cain chose option 2. And he returned home to prepare the house for date night. And when Verona arrived home, he was pleasantly surprised to see a candle dinner for 2. And Verona, taking the hint, returned from whence she came. And she was still pleased that her brother hadn't attended her birthday party at her house. And her brother was still part of her life, so she decided to be happy with that. You certainly have been busy, said Oberon, lightly touching the petals on the table. And the petals went from the dining table to the bedroom, and Cain asked, Did you find what you were looking for? I did, but I'm still uncertain about it, said Oberon. He didn't have a guarantee that Cain wasn't going to throw him out of the house in a fit of jealousy. And despite their promise to be honest, both men were avoiding having a meaningful conversation like the plague. Do you want rice with your steak? Asked Cain. I already ate, said Oberon, being honest. Oh, I guess I did all of this for nothing, said Cain, growing somber, and he began to pick up the plates. No, don't throw away the food, said Oberon when he saw Cain place a plate on top of the steak. Wasting food is a sin. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking, said Cain. Oberon took the plate from Cain, and he secured the scraps, and he cleaned the dishes, and once it was done, Oberon came to sit before his boyfriend, and he felt that it was time to have the conversation. I know that look, said Cain, alarmed. You're dumping me again, aren't you? Are you ever going to forgive me? Asked Oberon, exasperated. And he added after rubbing his temple with both hands, I'm sorry, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying, King. I'm really trying. I know you are, but I wish you didn't have to try. I wish that you truly wanted to be with me, said Cain bitterly, and the tears quickly rose to the surface, and before he groaned like a wounded animal. You don't love me, you don't love me. Do you think it is easy for me to sleep with you every night? I knew it, yelled Oberon, slamming his hands on the table, and you're not physically attracted to me. You're straight on, you well, am I right? Answer me. Cain struggled with his emotions for a few minutes, and Oberon sat there like a stone statue waiting for a response. And when he was able to speak, Cain said, It is required for a man to sleep with his partner. Whether I like it or not is not important to me, and I will do what I must to keep you happy at my side. And it is not as if it has always been unpleasant, and there are nights where I truly enjoy sleeping with you. But most of the time you're putting up with my eccentricity, said Oberon, narrowing his eyes. Mating has never been my strong suit, and I like the element called passion. And if you want to see someone else, that is fine. I won't be happy about it, but I won't stop you, said Cain while clearing his face with his napkin. If you truly love me, you wouldn't offer me such liberty, said Oberon, folding his arms. And Cain sighed with frustration before covering his face with his hand. And he said, You can believe whatever makes it easier for you to leave me again. And at this provocation, Oberon went into the bedroom to pack his things. And every so often he would turn his head to see if Cain was going to stop him from leaving. And when he made it to the front door, he stopped one last time, and Cain was still there with his eyes downcasted. And Oberon drove about Miami aimlessly, and every so often he looked at his cell phone. And the more time that passed, the more certain he became that Cain wasn't going to ask him to return. If he doesn't call me, I'm not crawling back, thought the proud Oberon. And his wandering eventually brought him to Natasha's house, and he knocked on her door, but his friend didn't allow him within. You are sabotaging yourself, Oberon, hissed Natasha. Go back to Cain and apologize. I don't see why I should apologize, barked Oberon, and he's the one who's repulsed by my touch, and yet he claims that he loves me. Cain cooks for you, he made a space for you in his house, and he takes you on nice dates. He is polite, he doesn't insult you, he doesn't hit you, and he sleeps with you whenever you feel like it. What more can you ask of a man, hissed Natasha. Did he ask you to tell me this? Asked Oberon. If the answer was yes, he was going to return. No, Carina called, answered Natasha, and she stopped talking when she heard Oberon go into the car. And with Natasha not backing him up, Oberon thought of his sister Veronica, and he had her address, and she didn't live in his old house, and so he fancied that maybe she had gotten a place of her own. And he drove up to North Hollywood for 2 hours, and he arrived close to midnight. And when he knocked on the door, he frowned when he saw his father Francis opening the door. And Francis saw the duffel bag, and he took it before Oberon had a chance to protest. And Veronica jumped from the couch to shower her brother with kisses, and her prayers had finally been answered. Did Cain finally throw you out? Did you cheat on him? Asked Veronica, assuming the worst. Veronica, your brother's tired. The questions can wait till tomorrow, said Francis, taking the duffel bag to another room. And Oberon sat in the couch beside his sister, and he felt nervous about the unfamiliar situation. And he whispered, Is Dad visiting? No, he lives here with me, said Veronica. And what happened to the old house? Asked Oberon. We had to sell it as part of the divorce settlement, said Veronica. Are you hungry? Do you want a sandwich? I'm alright, said Oberon. Is that the guest room over there? I don't know, you tell me, said Veronica, being cryptic. And Oberon left his seat and he entered the bedroom, and he was surprised to see his old room faithfully recreated in the new, smaller home. And there were his poster, his magic kits, his board games, his writing desk, his shelf with all of his movies. He saw the photo he had of himself and Sean on the nightstand, and it was face down, just as he left it on the night he had been thrown out of his house. Everything was there exactly as he had left them. I never said that you were not allowed to return home, said Francis, and you could have returned at any moment as long as you explained to me why you were throwing your future away to fool around with a clown. Dad, let's not start this. It's late, said Veronica, trying to defuse the situation. And she could see the veins popping on the side of her brother's skull. Tiki, tiki, tiki. We can have this argument tomorrow. Oberon was left alone in his bedroom with his anger and confusion, and he just couldn't understand his father. And if Francis had thrown him out of the house, why keep his old bedroom intact? And he opened a drawer, and the clothing was freshly washed and ready to be used, and the clothing in the closet had similar treatment. Did my father miss me? Thought Oberon lying down on his bed. But if he missed me, why didn't he apologize? We could have returned to our old life had he begged for my forgiveness. He lay down on his bed, and it felt so familiar yet so alien. He sighed wearily, and his father was never going to ask for forgiveness since he didn't see anything wrong with his actions. He picked up the photo of himself and Sean, and the love of his life had abandoned him after the first bump on the road. And he thought of Cain, and he had done the same thing to Cain whenever things became remotely difficult. And it was not as if Cain had explicitly thrown him out, and the longer he waited to return, the more difficult it was going to be for Cain to take him back. And his family was probably there right now telling Cain that Oberon wasn't worth it. And they are right, said Oberon, throwing the photo into the garbage can where it belonged. Cain deserves better. Oberon that night slept uneasily, and he would wake up every so often because he heard Cain crying in his nightmares. And in his last nightmare, he saw Ares sinking his fangs into Cain's neck, and blood poured from the open wound as the color and life left the limp body. Cain! Yelled Oberon, waking up for a third time. And Oberon left the bed, and he could see the glow of the sunrise through the window shades. And he had slept enough for one day, and he went to the breakfast table to wait for his meal, and from time to time his side was thinking of Cain, and he was distracted from his reverie when a plate of food was placed before him. His father had made him fresh toast with powdered sugar and maple syrup, and this was the breakfast Francis used to make for his son whenever the kid looked depressed, and Oberon ate his meal in silence without feeling any better. After he concluded his meal, he asked, "And would you have thrown me out of the house had you seen me in bed with a woman?" "Yes," said Francis flatly. "I sacrificed everything to make you a gymnast star, and you just pissed it all away to fool around with a clown who saw you as nothing but a plaything. And I did what I did to snap you out of the delusion you call love. And had Sean truly cared about you, he wouldn't have encouraged you to neglect your studies and your practices." "But Dad, I didn't want to be a sports star, and I only thought about it as painting humiliation to make you happy," said Oberon, pouting. "Then you wasted your time, son. I haven't been happy in a long time, but not that it matters to you, my boy, because as a father, it falls on me to make all of the sacrifices and to put on a fake smile in the face of adversity. And I pray you are never unlucky enough to sire a child as ungrateful as you." His Francis finally dropping his stony mask. "And I rue the day you ever—" "Dad, please," said Veronica, interfering. "Don't say another word that you're going to regret. Here, have a beer, go outside, cool off a little." Francis left the breakfast table to get away from the creature he used to call son, and he sat in the porch with his beer while he regretted all of his life's choices. And Oberon tapped the table nervously with his index finger, and he pondered how his sister could put up living with Francis. And she even defended him, and Veronica had always been Daddy's little girl. "I have practice today," said Veronica. "Do you want to come watch?" "Is Dad going to be there?" asked Oberon. "Obviously," said Veronica. And Oberon decided not to argue with his sister, and he looked at his cell phone before frowning. Other than messages from Natasha, there wasn't a word from Cain. And the trio went to play tennis, and tennis was her father's sport, so he was also her coach. And with an applied task, Veronica and Francis hyper-focused on the practice, and then became completely oblivious to Oberon's presence. And while Oberon was busy reconnecting, Cain was in his house sulking. Alright, bye-bye, God bless.